Hi, it's Nicole, and this is the second of my two videos for these paper doll pages, art journaling pages. These are 6x8 pages, and this video is going to show how I put my pages together. The first video showed more of the creation of the Julie Nutting paper doll stamps, and this is going to show you more how I put 4 of the 5 pages together. Then a little bit later this week, I will have a complete from start to finish page featuring the leftovers from the Simon Says Stamp June 2014 card kit. All of the pattern papers for the dolls, at least, not the backgrounds, but for the dolls, feature scraps from past Simon Says Stamp card kits. This is the first stamp that I did, the one that inspired everything. I used a doll and the cute little Simon the dog there, and I did this using scraps from the April card kit, and I am simply designing my page. A lot of the papers and things I'm using for the background are old. Not everything per se, but many of the components are going to be very old. The raindrop paper is an old Echo Park collection and things like that. Just using up my stash. I think these are great projects for using up your stash. For the bottom there, I use this awesome stamp set that I have listed at the end of this, or below the video here on YouTube, and also it will be on my blog. I've also used a bunch of cloud dies from Simon Says Stamp and heart dies from Simon Says Stamp. I want my pages to be kind of whimsical and fun. I want them to really match the mood and feel of the paper doll stamps from Julie Nutting. And I am picking quotes from my stamp collection that I love. This one happens to be from My Favorite Things. I had played with a different stamp you probably saw a little bit ago. It was also from My Favorite Things. But I decided on this one. I thought it went with my page a little bit better, and just fun little things that mean something to me. Since this is my art journal and my pages, I want them to be kind of relevant to me in my life. This one features the pattern papers left over from the February Simon Says Stamp card kit, and this is a travel themed page. Again, the background paper is an older collection. It's not really old, but it's not one of their current ones, is the Travel Girl collection from October Afternoon. And I wanted this girl to be holding cute little suitcases, and I am using a frame from a current collection from Amy Tangerine, the +1 collection. I just cut the frame from the pattern paper, and I layered a little vellum behind it, and I'm going to be stamping my quote on that. Now, I decided I had already done the doll, if you watched the previous video, but I felt like she needed a hat for her travel outfit, and so I grabbed my pattern papers that I had used, and I went ahead and stamped a hat for her using the Prima Boutique stamp set that coordinates with these paper doll stamps. And I also went ahead and added her shoes, which I hadn't done yet in the previous video. I hadn't decided what I wanted to use, and I used one of the kind of navy-ish papers. It's kind of a navy gray paper that was left over from the February kit, and then I wanted her shoes to look like patent shoes, and so I used glossy accents on top of those. Just a fun little tip for making the shoes really shine. Okay, once I have her all finished, I'm ready for for her suitcases. And the geotag stamp set from Mama Elephant is perfectly sized, this particular suitcase, for these dolls, I think. So I have done one of them here, and I'll do the other one here in a little bit. I added a little luggage tag to this one as well, but I think that ends up getting hidden. This is going to be the border. Again, a stamp set from Ranger. It'll be linked below the video here on YouTube. And I like to piece them together much like I piece together the paper dolls. I think it makes them more interesting and fun. So I've stamped it on several pattern papers, and then I will piece it all together once I kind of get the combination that I like. I ended up not particularly liking this one that I started out with, so I stamped it again on a couple different pattern papers. You know, I use mostly scraps, so it's okay. I feel like, oh well, you know, if I didn't like the initial one, I just didn't think it was as bright and fun as I wanted it to be, and I wanted it to kind of coordinate with my background. Now, not only am I using a pattern paper from my background with all that fun text, but I did layer a piece of acetate over it with some clouds. It's a 12 by 12 piece of acetate from Studio Calico, so I just cut a little piece of it to use there on my page. And then layered together the bottom. I think some white accents on that pieced together border really make it shine and pop. There's my frame, the girl with her suitcases. I'm going to grab some vellum and stamp this awesome stamp from Hero Arts. Use some white embossing powder on it, and then I did layer it behind my frame, and I popped the whole frame up with foam adhesive. So there are those suitcases, and I positioned them so it looks like she's carrying one in each hand, even though you only see the one hand. So I like to be conscious of that when creating with my dolls, of making the most of it to make it look like a more three-dimensional type of design. I'm using that foam adhesive again, just cutting it and positioning it. I need it in certain areas only so that I can pop her up on top of that frame. I want her to be able to be flush with the frame, if that makes sense. So I needed to pop up just parts of her that were not layered directly on top of that. And then, like all of my pages that I'm doing for this throughout this year, I am adding Simon the dog. There are 3 stamp sets currently from Simon Says Stamp that feature him. I've used 2 of them on all of the pages I'm sharing here today. The one of him standing and then the one of him sitting. And then there's all kinds of little outfits and accessories for him within these stamp sets. So I like to do much like I do with the dolls. I color in his fur and things, and then I outfit him with pieces from the stamp sets or even from other stamp sets. So I'm using several colors of Copic marker. I did stamp him on the same text paper that I used for the dolls. I think that kind of helps keep the whole theme going throughout the design. And then I cut him out and give him his little ensemble, and I like to finish with some glossy accents for the eyes and his nose. In this instance, I gave him some little glasses, and I also kind of made him into a girl. I hope he doesn't mind. And I gave him a little bow as well. So just have some fun with decorating the design and creating your own little scene with the stamps and things. I think it just ends up being really fun. The final thing I did was I did take a little bit of silver twine and create a collar and a leash for him that she can hold in her hand, so it looks like she's traveling with her pet. So just a fun little page. This was one of my favorites. I really liked how it all came together and worked out. There's that glossy accents. I just let that sit for about an hour or so and dry. There's the leash. The next page features the May card kit. This is the card kit for this month. Again, I used that cloud background acetate that I used part of it on the last design. I used this over another Amy Tangerine paper. This is from the, I believe, the Yes Please collection, where it looks like a city skyline in the background. And then I wanted to layer it with some clouds, and then I used my silhouette to create a triangle and an oval so that I made this, it looks like I wanted it to look like a spotlight, but it's kind of a cylinder shape, as you can see. And I layered 2 different vellums, a plain vellum and then that dotted vellum from Doodlebug, and then a yellow piece of paper because I wanted it to look like she was standing in a spotlight. Again, I've used one of those fun border stamps along the bottom and pieced it together, and I die cut the lamppost and the sign pieces so that I could stamp my greeting here. This is a greeting from My Favorite Things that I'm embossing with some platinum embossing powder and then hanging it from the little sign. Kind of simple and fun. And finally, I thought Simon needed not only the bow tie from the stamp set, but Lawn Fawn has a great stamp set that has some hats in it, and so I gave him a top hat as well. Next, I have the leftovers from the March 2014 card kit, which featured the Lawn Fawn Hello Sunshine paper pad collection, and I've outfitted my girl, and then I'm using this great quote stamp. I love the shaped quote stamps from Hero Arts. I think I have all of the recent ones. I just think they are awesome, and they work so well with this kind of a project. So I stamped mine on some yellow pattern paper that I have. This is from the Good Day Sunshine collection coming from Simple Stories. I used yellow ink on yellow paper to make it a sunshine, and then decorated it a bit with some white pen detailing, and then I will die cut with my silhouette a piece of vellum, yellow vellum, to place behind it to give it a layered sunshine look. I've stamped some balloon strings from the W+9 stamp set here, and then I've die cut some balloons from the text paper, and I'm stamping them with some bright Simon Says stamp ink, just creating a fun little sunshine, good feeling type page where she's holding some balloons. I love to give my dolls props, I guess I would say, where they're holding either suitcases or purses or balloons, whatever. I just think that's so fun. And then, of course, the little chipboard bike accent adds to the whole design of the page. That's also from Good Day Sunshine, as are all of the background papers on this design. It's an incredible collection, by the way. You'll be seeing me use it a lot. Those little balloon strings are from Mama Elephant, and I'm just going to add a little additional pin detailing there, some glitter pin, and finish off this whole page with some glitter over the balloons. So here's a final look at the 5 pages I created using the components from the first 5 months, or leftover pattern papers, I should say, from the first 5 months of the Simon Says stamp card kits. I will be sharing another video later this week with an entire start to finish of the page from the creation of the doll all the way through. The supplies I've used are linked below the video on YouTube. However, the list was really long, and YouTube doesn't like that in its descriptions, so I have cut it down a bit, but the entire list is listed on my blog post at the address shown here. Thanks for watching.